The Mail on Sunday, a very, very serious story. They have Cabinet Office in child abuse cover-up. Lots and lots of details in this, Jim, which will ring bells with people. But at the heart of it, it's another one of these rather wearily, sadly familiar allegations of child abuse.
Yeah, and this one's particularly about Cyril Smith, who was the MP for Rochdale. And if you talk to anyone who grew up in Rochdale, sort of the 80s and 90s, they all say that this guy sort of had a presence in the town that meant he was pretty much unassailable. I've got friends who grew up there, and they saw, they used to see him walking down the street. He was a quite larger than life is normally the phrase that's applied to him. But he pretty much had the rule of the town. He did what he wanted. And now, when we're trying to dig up these documents, I mean, it's always that, is this someone's messed up or is this a conspiracy in terms of losing the key documents? But the amount of things that are coming together at the moment, the amount of times that something's FOI'd and there's no way to get hold of it, it doesn't look good, whatever the reality.
And the allegation here, Eleanor, is about senior officials, including the then Prime Minister, ignoring some of these concerns.
Yeah, so this is saying that Margaret Thatcher, the specific detail is that Margaret Thatcher was told about Cyril Smith, and that apparently the quote is that it would breach the integrity of the honours system to give him a knighthood because they knew kind of some of the things that he'd been up to. And again, and also today is there's news that they've searched the houses of Leon Britton and Lord Bramall, Leon Britton dead, Lord Bramall 91, that it's called Operation Midland, and they've been searching those houses, which again is about historic allegations of abuse.
It's worth saying we've got a statement from the Cabinet Office that says we have released almost all the information held about this matter. We concluded the public interest favoured releasing this information rather than applying the usual exemptions that covers honours material that you referred to, Eleanor. We're sorry it has taken some time to consult all relevant officials. Last one, back to the Sunday Telegraph. Miliband pact with SNP would be disaster. Well, we've covered quite a few bases on the general election, but this is always, isn't it? You get these every permutation, don't you? Jim, about now, there is always the kind of roll of the dice of if Party X went with Party B, what would happen?
Yeah, and I mean, this particular story of a business leader sort of criticising Miliband, I think some papers really do currently have it out in for him, and we're going to see a lot more of that. If you want to criticise Miliband at the moment, you can definitely get yourself on a newspaper front page. But in this particular case, with the SNP, Scottish Labour had their conference yesterday. They didn't rule out a deal with the SNP. It's on the table if they want it. The SNP won't go with the Tories. They will go with Labour. If we get to that result on May the 7th, then it's quite likely to go ahead.
I think it's definitely open season on Ed Miliband, but there is some real reality here, which is the polls in Scotland last week show an absolute wipeout for Labour, that even seats like Gordon Brown's would fall to the SNP, and that is worrying. And I think Labour and the animosity towards Labour in Scotland now is now something that we have not seen before. No. And so whether or not Ed Miliband would make a pact with the SNP is going to be really crucial. And there are a lot of Tories and right-wingers down in the south who are absolutely terrified at the idea of this very, very lefty coalition.
And on that note, we end. Eleanor Mills, Jim Waterson, thank you both very much indeed. A reminder, we will be taking a look at tomorrow's front pages every evening. That's 10:30 and 11:30.